Hadīth 1. Narrated Marwan and Al-Miswar bin Makramah, from the companions of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, when Suhail bin Amr agreed to the treaty of Hudaybiyah, one of the things he stipulated then was that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, should return to them, that is, the pagans, anyone coming to him from their side, even if he was a Muslim, and would not interfere between them and that person. The Muslims did not like this condition and got disgusted with it. Suhail did not agree except with that condition. So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, agreed to that condition and returned Abu Jandal to his father Suhail bin Amr. Thenceforward, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, returned everyone in that period of truce, even if he was a Muslim. During that period, some believing women emigrants including Kulthum bint Uqbah bin Abu Mu'ayt, who came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and she was a young lady then. Her relative came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and asked him to return her, but the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, did not return her to them, for Allah had revealed the following verse regarding women: O you who believe! When the believing women come to you as emigrants, examine them, Allah knows best as to their belief, then if you know them for true believers, send them not back to the unbelievers, for they are not lawful wives for the disbelievers, nor are the unbelievers lawful husbands for them. Surah 60, Ayah 10. Hadīth 2. Narrated Urwa, Aisha told me, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, used to examine them according to this verse: O you who believe! When the believing women come to you as emigrants, test them, for Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Surah 60, Ayat 10-12. Aisha said, when any of them agreed to that condition, Allah's Apostle would say to her, I have accepted your pledge of allegiance. He would only say that, but, by Allah, he never touched the hand of any women, that is, never shook hands with them, while taking the pledge of allegiance, and he never took their pledge of allegiance except by his words, only. Hadīth 3. Narrated Jarir, when I gave the pledge of allegiance to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and he stipulated that I should give good advice to every Muslim. Hadīth 4. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullāh, I gave the pledge of allegiance to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, for offering the prayers perfectly, paying the zakat and giving good advice to every Muslim. Hadīth 5. Narrated Abdullāh bin Umar, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, if someone sells pollinated date palms, their fruits will be for the seller, unless the buyer stipulates the contrary. Hadīth 6. Narrated Urwa, Aisha told me that Barira came to seek her help in writing for emancipation, and at that time she had not paid any part of her price. Aisha said to her, go to your masters, and if they agree that I will pay your price, and free you, on condition that your wallah will be for me, I will pay the money. Barira told her masters about that, but they refused, and said, if Aisha wants to do a favor she could, but your wallah will be for us. Aisha informed Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, of that, and he said to her, buy and manumit Barira, as the wallah will go to the manumitted. Hadīth 7. Narrated Jabir, while I was riding a slow and tired camel, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, passed by and beat it and prayed for Allah's blessings for it. The camel became so fast as it had never been before. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then said, sell it to me for 1 uqiyah of gold. I said, no. He again said, sell it to me for 1 uqiyah of gold. I sold it and stipulated that I should ride it to my house. When we reached Medina, I took that camel to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and he gave me its price. I returned home, but he sent for me, and when I went to him, he said, I will not take your camel. Take your camel as a gift for you. Various narrations are mentioned here with slight variations in expressions relating the condition that Jabir had the right to ride the sold camel up to Medina. Hadīth 8. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Ansar said to the Prophet, "Divide our date palms between us and our emigrant brothers." The Prophet said, "No." The Ansar said to the emigrants, "You may do the labor in our gardens, and we will share the fruits with you." The emigrants said, "We hear and obey." Hadīth 9. Narrated Abdullāh bin Umar, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, gave the land of Khaybar to the Jews on the condition that they would work on it and cultivate it, and they would get half of its yield. Hadīth 10. Narrated Uqbah bin Amir, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "From among all the conditions which you have to fulfill, the conditions which make it legal for you to have sexual relations, that is, the marriage contract, have the greatest right to be fulfilled." Hadīth 11. Narrated Rafi bin Khadij, we used to work on the fields more than the other Ansar, and we used to rent the land, for the yield of a specific portion of it. But sometimes that portion or the rest of the land did not give any yield, so we were forbidden, by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to follow such a system, but we were allowed to rent the land for money. Hadīth 12. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "No town dweller should sell for a Bedouin. Do not practice nudj, that is, do not offer a high price for a thing which you do not want to buy, in order to deceive the people. No Muslim should offer more for a thing already bought by his Muslim brother, nor should he demand the hand of a girl already engaged to another Muslim. A Muslim woman shall not try to bring about the divorce of her sister, that is, another Muslim woman, in order to take her place herself." Hadīth 13. Narrated Abu Hurairah and Zayd bin Khalid al-Juhani, a Bedouin came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, "O Allah's Apostle, I ask you by Allah to judge my case according to Allah's laws." His opponent, who was more learned than he, said, "Yes, judge between us according to Allah's laws, and allow me to speak." Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Speak." He, that is, the Bedouin or the other man, said, "My son was working as a laborer for this man, and he committed illegal sexual intercourse with his wife. The people told me that it was obligatory that my son should be stoned to death, so in lieu of that I ransomed my son by paying 100 sheep and a slave girl. Then I asked the religious scholars about it, and they informed me that my son must be lashed 100 lashes, and be exiled for 1 year, and the wife of this man must be stoned to death. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "By him in whose hands my soul is, I will judge between you according to Allah's laws. The slave girl and the sheep are to be returned to you, your son is to receive 100 lashes and be exiled for 1 year. You, Unais, go to the wife of this man, and if she confesses her guilt, stone her to death." Unais went to that woman next morning and she confessed. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered that she be stoned to death. Hadīth 14. Narrated Ayman al-Makki, when I visited Aisha, she said, Barira, who had a written contract for her emancipation for a certain amount, came to me and said, "O mother of the believers, buy me and manumit me, as my masters will sell me." Aisha agreed to it. Barira said, "My masters will sell me on the condition that my wallah will go to them." Aisha said to her, "Then I am not in need of you." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, heard of that or was told about it, and so he asked Aisha, "What is the problem of Barira?" He said, "Buy her and manumit her, no matter what they stipulate." Aisha added, "I bought and manumitted her, though her masters had stipulated that her wallah would be for them." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The wallah is for the liberator, even if the other stipulated 100 conditions." Hadīth 15. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, forbade, 1. The meeting of the caravan, of goods, on the way, 2. And that a residing person buys for a Bedouin, 3. and that a woman stipulates the divorce of the wife of the would-be husband, 4, and that a man tries to cause the cancellation of a bargain concluded by another. He also forbade an-nudj, and that one withholds the milk in the udder of the animal so that he may deceive people on selling it. Hadīth 16. Narrated Ubay ibn Ka'b, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Moses, the Messenger of Allah, and then he narrated the whole story about him. Al-Qadr said to Moses, Did not I tell you that you can have no patience with me? Surah 18, Ayah 72. Moses then violated the agreement for the first time because of forgetfulness. Then Moses promised that if he asked Al-Qadr about anything, the latter would have the right to desert him. Moses abided by that condition, and on the third occasion he intentionally asked Al-Qadr and caused that condition to be applied. The 3 occasions referred to above are referred to by the following verses, Call me not to account for forgetting and be not hard upon me. Surah 18, Ayah 73. Then they met a boy and Qadr killed him. Surah 18, Ayah 74. Then they proceeded and found a wall which was on the verge of falling and Qadr set it up straight. Surah 18, Ayah 77. Hadīth 17. Narrated Urwa, Aisha said, Barira came to me and said, My people, masters, have written the contract for my emancipation for 9 awaq of gold, to be paid in yearly installments, 1 uqiyya per year, so help me. Aisha said to her, If your masters agree, I will pay them the whole sum, provided the wallah will be for me. Barira went to her masters and told them about it, but they refused the offer and she returned from them while Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was sitting. She said, I presented the offer to them, but they refused unless the wallah would be for them. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, heard that and Aisha told him about it, he said to her, By Barira and let them stipulate that her wallah will be for them, as the wallah is for the manumitted. Aisha did so. After that, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, got up amidst the people, glorified and praised Allah and said, What is wrong with some people who stipulate things which are not in Allah's laws? Any condition which is not in Allah's laws is invalid even if there were 100 such conditions. Allah's rules are the most valid and Allah's conditions are the most solid. The wallah is for the manumitted. Hadīth 18. Narrated Ibn Umar, when the people of Khaybar dislocated Abdullāh bin Umar's hands and feet, Umar got up delivering a sermon saying, No doubt, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, made a contract with the Jews concerning their properties, and said to them, We allow you to stand in your land, as long as Allah allows you. Now Abdullāh bin Umar went to his land and was attacked at night, and his hands and feet were dislocated, and as we have no enemies there except those Jews, they are our enemies and the only people whom we suspect, I have made up my mind to exile them. When Umar decided to carry out his decision, a son of Abu al-Hukayks came and addressed Umar, O chief of the believers, will you exile us although Muhammad allowed us to stay at our places, and made a contract with us about our properties, and accepted the condition of our residence in our land? Umar said, Do you think that I have forgotten the statement of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, that is, what will your condition be when you are expelled from Khaybar and your camel will be carrying you night after night? The Jew replied, That was a joke from Abul Qasim. Umar said, O the enemy of Allah! You are telling a lie. Umar then drove them out and paid them the price of their properties in the form of fruits, money, camel saddles and ropes, etc. Hadīth 19. Narrated Al-Miswar bin Makramah and Marwan, whose narrations attest each other, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, set out at the time of Al-Hudaybiyah treaty, and when they proceeded for a distance, he said, Khalid bin al-Walid leading the cavalry of Quraysh constituting the front of the army, is at a place called Al-Gamim, so take the way on the right. By Allah, Khalid did not perceive the arrival of the Muslims till the dust arising from the march of the Muslim army reached him, and then he turned back hurriedly to inform Quraysh. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, went on advancing till he reached the Thaniya, that is, a mountainous way, through which one would go to them, that is, people of Quraysh. The she-camel of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sat down. The people tried their best to cause the she-camel to get up but in vain, so they said, Al-Qaswa, that is, the she-camel's name, has become stubborn. Al-Qaswa has become stubborn. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Al-Qaswa has not become stubborn, for stubbornness is not her habit, but she was stopped by him who stopped the elephant. Then he said, by the name of him in whose hands my soul is, if they, that is, the Quraysh infidels, ask me anything which will respect the ordinances of Allah, I will grant it to them. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then rebuked the she-camel and she got up. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, changed his way till he dismounted at the farthest end of Al-Hudaybiyah at a pit, that is, well, containing a little water which the people used in small amounts, and in a short while, the people used up all its water and complained to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, of thirst. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, took an arrow out of his arrow case and ordered them to put the arrow in that pit. By Allah, the water started and continued sprouting out till all the people quenched their thirst and returned with satisfaction. While they were still in that state, Budayl bin Warqa al-Khuzai came with some persons from his tribe Khuzah, and they were the advisers of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, who would keep no secret from him and were from the people of Tihama. Budayl said, I left Ka'b bin Lu'ay and Amir bin Lu'ay residing at the profuse water of Al-Hudaybiyah, and they had milch camels, or their women and children, with them, and will wage war against you, and will prevent you from visiting the Kaaba. Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, we have not come to fight anyone, but to perform the Umrah. No doubt, the war has weakened Quraysh and they have suffered great losses, so if they wish, I will conclude a truce with them, during which they should refrain from interfering between me and the people, that is, the Arab infidels other than Quraysh, and if I have victory over those infidels, Quraysh will have the option to embrace Islam as the other people do. If they wish, they will at least get strong enough to fight. But if they do not accept the truce, by Allah in whose hands my life is, I will fight with them defending my cause till I get killed, but, I am sure, Allah will definitely make his cause victorious. Budayl said, I will inform them of what you have said. So, he set off till he reached Quraysh and said, we have come from that man, that is, Muhammad, whom we heard saying something which we will disclose to you if you should like. Some of the fools among Quraysh shouted that they were not in need of this information, but the wiser among them said, relate what you heard him saying. Budayl said, I heard him saying so and so, relating what the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, had told him. Urwah bin Mas'ud got up and said, O people! Aren't you the sons? They said, yes. He added, am I not the father? They said, yes. He said, do you mistrust me? They said, no. He said, don't you know that I invited the people of Ukaz for your help, and when they refused, I brought my relatives and children and those who obeyed me, to help you? They said, yes. He said, well, this man, that is, the Prophet, has offered you a reasonable proposal, you'd better accept it and allow me to meet him. They said, you may meet him. So, he went to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and started talking to him. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, told him almost the same as he had told Budayl. Then Urwah said, O Muhammad! Won't you feel any scruple in extirpating your relations? Have you ever heard of anyone amongst the Arabs extirpating his relatives before you? On the other hand, if the reverse should happen, nobody will aid you, for, by Allah, I do not see, with you, dignified people, but people from various tribes who would run away leaving you alone. Hearing that, Abu Bakr abused him and said, do you say we would run and leave the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, alone? Urwa said, "Who is that man?" They said, "He is Abu Bakr." Urwa said to Abu Bakr, "By him in whose hands my life is, were it not for the favor which you did to me and which I did not compensate, I would retort on you." Urwa kept on talking to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and seizing the Prophet's beard as he was talking while Al-Mughīrah bin Shu'bah was standing near the head of the Prophet, holding a sword and wearing a helmet. Whenever Urwa stretched his hand towards the beard of the Prophet, Al-Mughīrah would hit his hand with the handle of the sword and say, to Urwa, "Remove your hand from the beard of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him." Urwa raised his head and asked, "Who is that?" The people said, "He is Al-Mughīrah bin Shu'bah." Urwa said, "O treacherous! Am I not doing my best to prevent evil consequences of your treachery?" Before embracing Islam, Al-Mughīrah was in the company of some people. He killed them and took their property and came, to Medina, to embrace Islam. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, to him, "As regards your Islam, I accept it, but as for the property, I do not take anything of it, as it was taken through treason." Urwa then started looking at the companions of the Prophet. By Allah, whenever Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, spat, the spittle would fall in the hand of one of them, that is, the Prophet's companions, who would rub it on his face and skin. If he ordered them they would carry his orders immediately. If he performed ablution, they would struggle to take the remaining water, and when they spoke to him, they would lower their voices and would not look at his face constantly out of respect. Urwa returned to his people and said, "O people! By Allah, I have been to the kings and to Caesar, Khosrau and An-Najashi, yet I have never seen any of them respected by his courtiers as much as Muhammad is respected by his companions. By Allah, if he spat, the spittle would fall in the hand of one of them, that is, the Prophet's companions, who would rub it on his face and skin. If he ordered them, they would carry out his order immediately. If he performed ablution, they would struggle to take the remaining water, and when they spoke, they would lower their voices and would not look at his face constantly out of respect." Urwa added, "No doubt, he has presented to you a good reasonable offer, so please accept it." A man from the tribe of Bani Kinana said, "Allow me to go to him," and they allowed him, and when he approached the Prophet and his companions, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "He is so-and-so who belongs to the tribe that respects the budn, that is, camels of the sacrifice. So, bring the budn in front of him." So, the budn were brought before him and the people received him while they were reciting Talbiyah. When he saw that scene, he said, "Glorified be Allah. It is not fair to prevent these people from visiting the Kaaba." When he returned to his people, he said, "I saw the budn garlanded, with colored knotted ropes, and marked, with stabs on their backs. I do not think it is advisable to prevent them from visiting the Kaaba." Another person called Mikraz bin Hafs got up and sought their permission to go to Muhammad, and they allowed him, too. When he approached the Muslims, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Here is Mikraz and he is a vicious man." Mikraz started talking to the Prophet and as he was talking, Suhail bin Amr came. When Suhail bin Amr came, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Now the matter has become easy." Suhail said to the Prophet, "Please conclude a peace treaty with us." So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, called the clerk and said to him, "Write, by the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful." Suhail said, "As for beneficent, by Allah, I do not know what it means." So write, by your name, O Allah, as you used to write previously. The Muslim said, "By Allah, we will not write except, by the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Write, by your name, O Allah." Then he dictated, "This is the peace treaty which Muhammad, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, has concluded." Suhail said, "By Allah, if we knew that you are Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, we would not prevent you from visiting the Kaaba, and would not fight with you. So, write, Muhammad bin Abdullāh." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, By Allah, I am the apostle of Allah even if you people do not believe me. Write, Muhammad bin Abdullāh. Az-Zuhri said, The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, accepted all those things, as he had already said that he would accept everything they would demand if it respects the ordinance of Allah, that is, by letting him and his companions perform Umrah. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to Suhail, on the condition that you allow us to visit the house, that is, Kaaba, so that we may perform tawaf around it. Suhail said, By Allah, we will not allow you this year, so as not to give chance to the Arabs to say that we have yielded to you, but we will allow you next year. So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, got that written. Then Suhail said, We also stipulate that you should return to us whoever comes to you from us, even if he embraced your religion. The Muslims said, Glorified be Allah. How will such a person be returned to the pagans after he has become a Muslim? While they were in this state, Abu Jandal bin Suhail bin Amr came from the valley of Makkah staggering with his fetters and fell down amongst the Muslims. Suhail said, O Muhammad! This is the very first term with which we make peace with you, that is, you shall return Abu Jandal to me. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, The peace treaty has not been written yet. Suhail said, I will never allow you to keep him. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Yes, do. He said, I won't do. Mikraz said, We allow you to keep him. Abu Jandal said, O Muslims! Will I be returned to the pagans though I have come as a Muslim? Don't you see how much I have suffered? Abu Jandal had been tortured severely for the cause of Allah. Umar bin al-Khattab said, I went to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, Aren't you truly the messenger of Allah? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Yes, indeed. I said, Isn't our cause just and the cause of the enemy unjust? He said, Yes. I said, Then why should we be humble in our religion? He said, I am Allah's messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and I do not disobey him, and he will make me victorious. I said, Didn't you tell us that we would go to the Kaaba and perform tawaf around it? He said, Yes, but did I tell you that we would visit the Kaaba this year? I said, No. He said, So you will visit it and perform tawaf around it. Umar further said, I went to Abu Bakr and said, O Abu Bakr! Isn't he truly Allah's prophet? He replied, Yes. I said, Then why should we be humble in our religion? He said, Indeed, he is Allah's messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and he does not disobey his Lord, and he will make him victorious. Adhere to him as, by Allah, he is on the right. I said, Was he not telling us that we would go to the Kaaba and perform tawaf around it? He said, Yes, but did he tell you that you would go to the Kaaba this year? I said, No. He said, You will go to Kaaba and perform tawaf around it. Az-Zuhri said, Umar said, I performed many good deeds as expiation for the improper questions I asked them. When the writing of the peace treaty was concluded, Allah's messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said to his companions, Get up and slaughter your sacrifices and get your heads shaved. By Allah, none of them got up, and the Prophet repeated his order thrice. When none of them got up, he left them and went to Salamah and told her of the people's attitudes towards him. Salamah said, O Prophet of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him. Do you want your order to be carried out? Go out and don't say a word to anybody till you have slaughtered your sacrifice and call your barber to shave your head. So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, went out and did not talk to any one of them till he did that is, slaughtered the sacrifice and called his barber who shaved his head. Seeing that, the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, got up, slaughtered their sacrifices, and started shaving the heads of one another, and there was so much rush that there was a danger of killing each other. Then some believing women came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and Allah revealed the following divine verses: O you who believe, when the believing women come to you as emigrants, examine them. Surah 60, Ayah 10. Umar then divorced 2 wives of his who were infidels. Later on, Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan married one of them, and Safwan bin Umayyah married the other. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, returned to Medina, Abu Basir, a new Muslim convert from Quraysh, came to him. The infidel sent in his pursuit 2 men who said, to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, abide by the promise you gave us. So, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, handed him over to them. They took him out of the city, till they reached Dhul Hulayfa, where they dismounted to eat some dates they had with them. Abu Basir said to one of them, by Allah, O so-and-so, I see you have a fine sword. The other drew it out of the scabbard, and said, by Allah, it is very fine and I have tried it many times. Abu Basir said, let me have a look at it. When the other gave it to him, he hit him with it till he died, and his companion ran away till he came to Medina and entered the mosque running. When Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, saw him, he said, this man appears to have been frightened. When he reached the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said, my companion has been murdered and I would have been murdered too. Abu Basir came and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, by Allah, Allah has made you fulfill your obligations by your returning me to them, that is, the infidels, but Allah has saved me from them. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, woe to his mother. What excellent war kindler he would be, should he only have supporters. When Abu Basir heard that, he understood that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, would return him to them again, so he set off till he reached the seashore. Abu Jandal bin Suhail got himself released from them, that is, infidels, and joined Abu Basir. So, whenever a man from Quraysh embraced Islam, he would follow Abu Basir till they formed a strong group. By Allah, whenever they heard about a caravan of Quraysh heading towards Sham, they stopped it and attacked and killed them, that is, infidels, and took their properties. The people of Quraysh sent a message to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, requesting him for the sake of Allah and kith and kin to send for, that is, Abu Basir and his companions, promising that whoever, amongst them, came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, would be secure. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sent for them, that is, Abu Basir's companions, and Allah revealed the following divine verses, and it is He who has withheld their hands from you and your hands from them in the midst of Makkah, after He made you the victorious over them. The unbelievers had pride and haughtiness in their hearts, the pride and haughtiness of the time of ignorance. Surah 48, Ayat 24-26. And their pride and haughtiness was that they did not confess, write in the treaty, that he, that is, Muhammad, was the Prophet of Allah, and refused to write, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, and they, the mushriks, prevented them, the Muslims, from visiting the house, the Kaaba. Hadīth 20. Narrated Az-Zuhri, Urwa said, Aisha told me that Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, used to examine the women emigrants. We have been told also that when Allah revealed the order that the Muslims should return to the pagans what they had spent on their wives who emigrated, after embracing Islam, and that the Muslims should not keep unbelieving women as their wives, Umar divorced 2 of his wives, Qaribah, the daughter of Abu Umayyah and the daughter of Jarwal al-Khuzai. Later on, Muawiyah married Qaribah and Abu Jaham married the other. When the pagans refused to pay what the Muslims had spent on their wives, Allah revealed, and if any of your wives have gone from you to the unbelievers and you have an accession, by the coming over of a woman from the other side, then pay to those whose wives have gone, the equivalent of what they had spent, on their Mahr. Surah 60, Ayah 11. So, Allah ordered that the Muslim whose wife has gone should be given, as a compensation of the Mahr he had given to his wife, from the Mahr of the wives of the pagans who had emigrated deserting their husbands. We do not know any of the women emigrants who deserted Islam after embracing it. We have also been told that Abu Basir bin Asid al-Thaqafi came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as a Muslim emigrant during the truce. Al-Aqnas bin Sharik wrote to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, requesting him to return Abu Basir. Hadīth 21. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, mentioned a person who asked an Israeli man to lend him 1,000 dinars, and the Israeli lent him the sum for a certain fixed period. Hadīth 22. Narrated Amrah, Aisha said that Barira came to seek her help in the writing of her emancipation. Aisha said to her, if you wish, I will pay your masters, your price, and the wallah will be for me. When Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, came, she told him about it. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to her, buy her, that is, Barira, and manumit, free her, for the wallah is for the one who manumits. Then Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, ascended the pulpit and said, what about those people who stipulate conditions which are not in Allah's laws? Whoever stipulates such conditions as are not in Allah's laws, then those conditions are invalid even if he stipulated 100 such conditions. Hadīth 23. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah has 99 names, that is, 100-1, and whoever knows them will go to paradise. Hadīth 24. Narrated Ibn Umar bin al-Khattab got some land in Khaybar and he went to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to consult him about it, saying, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, I got some land in Khaybar better than which I have never had, what do you suggest that I do with it? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, if you like, you can give the land as endowment and give its fruits in charity. So Umar gave it in charity as an endowment, on the condition that it would not be sold or given to anybody as a present and not to be inherited, but its yield would be given in charity to the poor people, to the kith and kin, for freeing slaves, for Allah's cause, to the travelers and guests, and that there would be no harm if the guardian of the endowment ate from it according to his need with good intention, and fed others without storing it for the future.